like to begin my speech with just this little poem I wrote up. It's just a little short thing, but I think it describes, the relationship I'm going to go over in my speech a little bit. It goes, "So long, partner, my dearest friend. Never thought our days would come to end. We've been together for so long, never thought our time would be gone. It took a while, but now I know we had to let each other go." Now, this relationship that I had, that I just mentioned in this poem, it's one of my longest ones that I've ever had. It started in the summer of 1995. I was just 3 years old, and the day when I forged it, I never knew it would last as long as it did. It's kind of hard to exactly say when I forged this friendship, and especially since I was only 3 years old at the time, it's especially hard to remember. But as time went on, as I built a relationship with this person, I got to know them. I got to understand every aspect of them. And I saw how much that one meeting just changed my entire life. Now, this friend showed me how to be brave, how to be resourceful, and how to put others before myself. And to think about it, when I went into the movie theater that day, all I was thinking about is, okay, what am I going to get from the vending machine? Am I going to get Reese's Pieces or Crunch Bar? Yeah, so when I went into that theater that day, all I was expecting was to see a movie. But in summer of 1995, I saw something that changed my life, and I made a relationship with, well, a movie, Toy Story. You can laugh if you want to, but I admit, as a kid, cartoons always, held an interest for me. Even at a young age, I could always tell there wasn't something all that real about them. Robots never walk the streets, and princesses don't live in castles just down the road. So I figure, if that doesn't happen here, it probably doesn't happen anywhere. But as time went on, I grew to appreciate them not only just for their entertainment value, but also for the value of how much effort went into them. And I understood, this kind of stuff could never truly happen. But when I saw Toy Story, I gotta admit, my mind was literally blown away. It was the first time a computer animated film was ever made full-length feature. And it was something that had never been seen before. So I never got that sense that it was something that could never happen. It was a cartoon to be sure, but it was something that nobody ever imagined before. So I felt as if that the unreal had actually happened right in front of my eyes. The characters were well developed. They seemed completely real to me. I grew to love them all as a kid. The cowboy Woody in particular was always, very special character to me, and I cherished him very much, especially considering that to this day I do still have an old Woody pull string toy that I had when I was a kid. I kept it all my life. But as I grew to maturity and all these, different cartoons, I thought to myself, this is unreal. This could never happen in real life. I still held on to the ideals that were put forth in Toy Story. And of course, I still kept up with, the persistence and the repetition that came with, loving this movie so much. I watched everything involving it. I watched all the sequels. I've watched, the spin-off TV series. I've listened to all the music. And I'd get up every morning, whenever it was on. I'd get up early, still in my PJs, and watch it on TV, not really caring although I wouldn't even care very much when, my parents would get up, a little angry at me that I got up before them, woke them up with the TV. And I gotta admit, having that around, it just gave me peace. Where in a world where the only thing constant is change. And I learned to know every line of the movie, every action, every setup. And even when I managed to memorize the last piece, I couldn't stay uninterested. It was just something that wowed me. Now, as I grew to maturity, as I mentioned, there came a sense of reality. When I would talk with my friends, I'd find myself left behind in conversations we would have. My friends were talking about, the latest Halo game that would come out, or, well, I shouldn't say latest because I started to stop watching the movie when the first one came out, but, they'd talk about the latest video game or, the latest R-rated movie they saw, because I wasn't watching R-rated movies until I was like 15, 16 years old. Yeah, my parents are strict, go figure. The world was changing on me, and I really didn't want to change with it. I had gotten so much into this world of make-believe. I had gotten so drawn into this world of animation that I really just didn't want to leave. And becoming so enthralled with it, I had left the world behind, and it had left me. And I eventually decided, to learn what I could of my other friends' interests. And in doing so, I gained some of my own. I gained interest in a lot of different video games, action adventure mostly. I watched a lot of new movies that opened my eyes to a lot more of cinema and what it could do. But I still remembered that summer of 1995, and I still clung almost childlike to that idea that that was set forth in the movie, that in time everybody could learn to cooperate with each other, just as Woody and Buzz did in the movie. Okay, so I'm naive. Go figure. I mean, it comes with the badge, the oath, and the secret decoder ring. But the more I saw the world, and the more I just wanted to turn away. It was too dark for me, or I suppose too bright. I had been in the dark for too long, and the light of reality had blinded me, so to speak. High school, I will admit, was a good way to ease me into that light. My friends and I learned many things from each other and learned many things inside the walls of high school as well as out. We became adults very quickly. We left behind all our childhood interests, and video games replaced board games. R-rated movies about war and mythology and science fiction replaced cartoons. And I knew college was coming fast. My interest had turned towards the mature. I had been enthralled with crime dramas, CSI, NCIS, and the like. And they had been on the rise since, the turn of the new millennia, since 2000. And they had pulled me in. I had seen value in criminal justice as a career. Now, this stems all the way back to another childhood interest of mine, when one of the first books I read, some stories about the famous detective Sherlock Holmes, really captured my mind. I always wished I could be a detective, but now I saw a drama that depicted, mostly realistically, what it was actually like to work in crime scene investigation. And I saw value in this as a career. So I decided right then and there to try and apply myself to whatever I could to make it into a career for myself. So I researched colleges. I looked up, what degrees could I get? Would it be a bachelor's? Would it be, I don't know what other kind of degrees there would be. I found mostly bachelor's, to be honest. I eventually settled on Ferris State, but I knew I'd need a few credits before I could transfer over, so decided to come here. So schoolwork and the work it took for me to be able to transition right into college, it took a precedence over leisure activities, save for the stuff that I could do during school. I mean, there were plenty of times when I would, just shoot the breeze with my friends, playing a game of euchre at the lunch table. And my old childhood ways had basically all but gone, just disappeared, leaving just a note explaining the guilt, I suppose, they had of keeping me sheltered from reality. It probably would have read something like, "We had some laughs, kid, but it's time to move on." So by the time the newest Toy Story came out, I admit I was interested, but I ignored it. But at the pressing of my friends, I started to get a bit more interested. I never did get to see it in theaters, though, and I kind of regret not doing that. But But finally when December 2010 rolled around and my family had our annual Christmas party, and I got the DVD of it as a gift, and I watched it with my family. And I admit, nothing since or before has ever enthralled me in such a way. And I just felt, well, I suppose, just like a kid again. I mean, I know that's cliched, but that's exactly how I felt. It just spoke to me in such a way. It was the end of a story that I had known all my life. It was something that I had grown up with. I mean, Toy Story was the very first movie I ever saw in theaters. It was my first introduction to movies on the whole. What I'll never forget, though, is the final scene, though, is when the toy's owner, Andy, gives the toys away, hoping they can bring as much happiness to someone else as they did for him. And it was the perfect description of my life. I had held on so long to childhood ideals. I had been so hesitant to let go of my past. I had neglected the present. I had let the world pass me by. I just thought, I could be a kid forever as long as I think it, but, that's not the case. I had been stuck in a world of make-believe. My friends had become more adult, and they had more adult conversations. I had to face facts. I wasn't a kid anymore. I mean, I was going to college, just like Andy was in the movie. And I had to move on and give up my childhood ideals so that others could share the memories that I had, instead of just telling me their own. Just telling me, oh, this happened today, or, this is probably going to happen, or something like that. And in this final touch that just broke my heart, the last line in the movie just goes directly to me, it seemed like, as Woody just whispers to himself as Andy's driving away, just, so long, partner. And I cannot deny that moment's power on me, and I admit, I cried a bit as I said to myself, thanks for the memories. But in that instant, I realized that was all I needed. Memories, if they're great ones, last forever. Through them, repetition becomes pointless, and they allow you to go on with your life. And I won't deny that these memories are great, but they can't take precedence over the present. I'm still interested in animation, of course, but now it's more along the lines of the amount of work and effort put into it. I've done a lot of research on my own time on old cartoons out of the 30s and 40s, and even newer animation stylings these days, hoping to turn my old interests into a career of some sort in case the criminal justice thing falls through. And writing stories inspired by great ones like Toy Story, among others, is another one of my great passions as well. But in all, though, I feel like I'm done being a kid. So I suppose that's it. I've packed away my memories. I've made room for more that I'm sure to make when I'm here in college, hopefully making friends with a lot of you guys, if not all of you. And so one day when I'm done running, that I can finally ease back into my chair, just unpack them again, revel in the good times, and remember, most of all, when I made the best friend I ever had in the summer of 1995.